Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Gridiron Uncensored. I'm Trevor. That's Blake. Brendan is unfortunately out sick tonight, but we are still here, going to give you good content and good. We're going to give you a good recap for Week 7. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and just kind of get into it. I hope everybody's having a good night tonight. So, really, let's just kind of talk about it. Blake, we're just gonna go right into this, and we're gonna talk about the good old Crimson Tide and potentially some trouble brewing up in Tuscaloosa.
Oh, we've definitely got a lot of it. You got to see my reaction live. It's very disappointing. Sure it was bad. Defensively, my God, I don't even know where to start. We have got so much problems defensively. It's bad. The system's bad. We can't cover anybody. We're getting beat to the inside, across the middle. We're getting beat down the sidelines. We're getting beat up the seam. I mean, it's just, I don't know if it's a player issue, coaching issue, or is it just that easy to figure out what we're doing? We're struggling to get pressure on the quarterback. I mean, Alabama, I think, is in some trouble. I really do, defensively. Offensively, Milroe, I give him credit 2 weeks in a row for his Wisconsin performance. He looked great the first half of Georgia. Vanderbilt, he even had a decent game. The pick in that game wasn't his fault. But this game, I mean, he looked like the Milroe of old, not working through his progressions, panicking under pressure, leaving the pocket early. Stupid decisions, running 15 yards back, taking a sack, running into the end zone. He could have just took that sack and forward progress would have been called at maybe the 1 or 2 yard line. No reason to run in the end zone and try to throw it away. Stupid decisions that you expect better out of a Heisman candidate that ESPN deems as the second quarterback taken in the draft. So,
yeah. I mean,
a loss for it.
Yeah. I mean, what else can you say about it? I mean, really, I was kind of I mean, don't get me wrong. We all know how good South Carolina's defensive line and defense in general is. They've played really good pretty much all season long. So up to this point, there was no indication that they weren't going to play good against Alabama. But I was a little surprised on how disruptive the defensive front for South Carolina was all game long. It wasn't just a little bit. It was consistently all game long. That front seven was an issue and a major problem for Alabama all game long. There was no answer, no adjustment from what I could tell that DeBoer made. So, I mean, we kind of talked about it a little bit while I was at your house, but is there a conversation to be had about DeBoer's decision-making skills in general?
I mean, I've been defending him, and I told you this yesterday. I still believe in giving people chances because I mean, he is midway through his first season, but you want to see something. Like you want to see an attempt to make a change. And I don't know what gets said in the locker room. All I can say is what it looks like from the fan perspective. Watching the sideline, I don't see that passion. I just don't see, like, I know he's a different coach. I'm not expecting to see Nick Saban, but when your right tackle is getting beat to the outside play after play after play, I expect some sort of help, move a running back over, bring a tight end down to that side of the line, run the play to the left. You want to see something, and I'm just not getting that. I really don't. I don't know. I'm trying to reserve judgment because, like I said, it is hard when you have a bunch of upperclassmen that have been in a certain system for X amount of years, and then you bring in a new guy with a whole new scheme and whatnot. I understand there's going to be some drop off there, but I don't think it should be where we're at. We shouldn't be winning games and complaining is the thing.
And
I don't like what I see.
Exactly right. And to your point, Blake, and actually Jacob Rowe just said it, and this is really, yeah, the DeBoer does have a little looser reins. It does appear so, at least, with the Alabama program, as opposed to when Saban was in charge. 100% agreed. So yeah, okay. Well, yeah, that pretty much, like, Alabama, we're gonna be coming back to you because we ain't done with you just yet. but let's go through some of these games, Blake, real quick. Texas, Oklahoma at Oklahoma. Not a real big shocker there, to be perfectly honest. That, like, for like a half a minute, Oklahoma was in it, and yeah, and then it was all Texas from then on out. Do you got any thoughts on the game at all, really?
Pretty much what we said in the preview. Oklahoma defensively there for a minute in the first quarter looked like they had a chance to kind of hang around, but their offense is non-existent, and pretty much what we figured, they wasn't going to be able to match Texas offensively, and Texas ran away, steamrolled it.
Absolutely. Now, this is the game that disappointed me, honestly.
Yeah.
I was really, really hopeful, and they did try and make a comeback.
Yeah.
Cal versus Pitt at Pitt. Pitt almost gave the game away and let
Cal
come right back into it. But they did squeak it out at the end. I think it was like 17-15 or something like that. I'm pretty sure that was the score. And yeah, that gave me my first loss of the day. And then didn't get better for me. But you got any thoughts on Cal, Pitt? I mean, Narduzzi and Holstein, man. Oh my goodness. I don't even know what to say to these guys.
They're not, I'm not saying they're a top 10 team or anything like that, but Pitt's playing pretty good football. Cal's not a bad team. So, I mean, they handled their business, and that was a tricky game there. Cal coming off that emotional loss to Miami. That's a trap for Pittsburgh all day, and they won it. So kudos to Pittsburgh.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Pittsburgh, I mean, look, Pittsburgh's looking real good with Holstein at the helm. And I mean, hey, hashtag save Narduzzi. That's all I got to say about that. All right, here's a game that I'm looking forward to talking about with you is Penn State at South Carolina.
Oh yeah.
Now this game was interesting because South Carolina, good Lord,
the real
USC Trojans, the real USC. The Trojans kind of gave the game to Penn State. They did not put the pedal to the metal. They did not. What do we say? We always say they got. I think me and Blake were watching it. We literally said that at the end of that first half, you could literally tell that they took the foot off the gas.
Yep.
And just got super conservative, which is not really Lincoln Riley's MO. Like, when has Lincoln Riley ever gone super conservative like that? I don't understand this mentality with these coaches this year of, oh man, I'm afraid of blowing it, or like in the first half. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Get as many points as you can. Get up high. Like, but shoot, I give Penn State a little bit of credit coming out in that second half though, and just laying it to them.
Yep. And I mean, a name we might hear later, we may not. Tyler Warren. I mean, absolutely monstrous game.
Yeah,
going over
that
200 yards.
That senior tight end just might have got himself drafted. I'm just saying. Yeah.
Well, it's one thing for a receiver to go over 200 yards, which is that's a statement in and of itself. But for a tight end to do it, I mean, he could not be stopped. USC was doing all they could to stop that man. He was going up, snagging it. I mean, that was a performance that I haven't seen out of a tight end in a long time. So kudos to him.
It wasn't just the yardage and the receptions, man. It was legitimately back to back plays.
Yeah.
And USC was not doing anything to really put a hat on him, for lack of a better term. And number 7, his name escapes me on USC's defense. He had a heck of a game. Like, he was all over the field, flying around. I'm gonna have to look up his name later, and I'll throw it in the chat.
I would imagine statistically he's not going to look that good. Yeah. But as he was all over the field, and he was like
watching him on TV, like he was involved everywhere.
Yeah, very impressive.
I believe he is their free safety. I believe.
Yep.
But ultimately Penn State got the win. Yay! Everybody's happy and whatever. Nobody cares about Penn State. They should have lost that game.
Yeah, USC really. I think they messed up going into halftime. In the second quarter, you could really see once they got that 17-3 lead. Yep. They really seemed to take pull the reins on the offense, and we both said it in real time. I'm like, I really don't like what they're doing here, and we could tell Penn State was going to come back in that. And
as soon as they scored that first touchdown, it was on. It was a whole new game at that point.
Yep.
So unfortunately, I have to give Baldy a little credit. For getting his team prepared to play in the second half. I'm not going to say his name. He's Baldy from now on. But
that's
whatever. Right. But anyway, okay, let's move on to another fun topic. So the Florida and Tennessee game. Blake, I'm just going to let you go.
Well, so I'm just going to preface by saying Florida gets a lot of hate. They're not a great team, but they're not a bad football team either. And I do like Graham Mertz overall, but he's not the leader that Florida needs. I feel like Lagway, even though statistically he didn't look great on paper, they seem to show more life with him on the field, and he caused more problems for Tennessee because of his legs. And, I mean, you could see it defensively for Tennessee. I mean, Florida really shot themselves in the foot a lot. They had a lot of opportunities when they got down inside the 20, 25-yard line.
What was the overall count that we did when we were watching that game, that they like points that they lost? Like, if they were to score touchdowns, because they were in the red zone at least 3 times in the first half that I remember.
3 times in the first half with no points. And then they was in Tennessee territory 7 times. And they did not get points 6 out of the 7 times they was in Tennessee territory.
So, I mean, you can't but the problem is that Graham Mertz, turned the ball over, I think twice out of those first 3 times that they were in the red zone. And I'm telling you, to your point, Lagway looked phenomenal. I thought for a true freshman to make some of the throws he was making and splitting time with Graham Mertz before Graham Mertz went down with what we believe was an Achilles injury of some sort, potentially a sprained knee, but either way, he didn't come back after that. Lagway he seems to have a command of the offense and a confidence. He's got some ice water in his veins. He made some a 4th and 18 or 4th and 15 that he made on a crossing pattern. Or he threw a crossing pattern in between two different safeties. Like it was an impressive throw for a true freshman.
Yep. The team really seems to respond better to Lagway at quarterback than they do with Mertz.
Yep.
Tennessee, to me, they've got flashes of I mean, everybody knows they can score. I mean, they've got the ability to put points up on the board when they're playing Kent State and Chattanooga. Since the Arkansas game, when they have played teams that can match up with them talent-wise, they've really struggled offensively. And I'm not saying they are completely overrated. I'm just saying they are what I kind of expected them to be. I think a lot of people excuse me, put a lot of faith into Nico, sorry, Llama Lover. And yeah. But yeah, I think it's kind of an unfair expectation placed on him. So
yeah, with Nico, I'm don't get me wrong, I think he's good. Oh, okay. I think we lost Blake. All right. Are we good? Oh, okay. All right.
I'm good.
All right. Sounds good. All right. But no, with Nico, I think I'm pretty sure it's just one of those things that I think he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's a bad quarterback, but I think he has limitations, and I don't think he's as good as advertised. He's not an elite. He's not a Heisman Trophy candidate, in my opinion. He's not that level of a quarterback like they were talking about in the preseason.
I don't think he's there yet. He could be in the
absolutely.
I mean, he definitely could be. They've got the pieces at Tennessee to have a team like that. But Tennessee fans, which every fan base, especially when you haven't won for years and 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 years, when you're just used to losing over and over and over again, you start winning some, you get a little rowdy about it. And Tennessee fans seem to, they think they're going to the national championship every year. And they could. I mean, you don't know. They've lost one game. Anything can happen any Saturday. What I'm seeing out of them, Oklahoma kind of showed that if you put a solid defense up against them, they're struggling to move the football. And Arkansas stopped them. Florida stopped them fairly well. So I think Tennessee and Alabama are kind of similar in a way. I would honestly give a little bit more of an edge consistently with Tennessee. They're more consistent than Alabama defensively for sure. Offensively, I would probably say they're about the same. So next Saturday is going to be a great game.
Yeah, it should be an interesting one. And speaking of a great game, or what turned out to be a really great game that I didn't really think I thought it was going to be a little bit more lopsided than what it was, but Ole Miss at LSU. It turned out to be a pretty darn good game. But I'll tell you what, Nussmeier, even though he was below 50%, far below actually. They
43 to be exact.
Yeah. I mean, he got the win for him. He threw a touchdown that won the game for him. And I don't know. LSU and Brian Kelly and Nussmeier are the most frustrating team in the world. Yep. And I'll tell you what, I said this at the beginning, not at the beginning of the season. I'm still sticking to it now. Nussmeier is not the answer. He's not I don't think he's a good quarterback. I don't think he makes really that well. He doesn't make great decisions. He's manageable for sure. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But there's got to be a better option on the roster. But then again, it's Brian Kelly, and usually once he picks his guy, and there's no getting him off of it.
Yeah. I don't think that Nussmeier is absolutely atrocious. I think he's solid. He's not great, but he is still young, and I do think he can grow and be a great quarterback.
Right.
Because they were also down some wide receivers this game too, and
Yep. They were.
So I mean that kind of stuff, it does matter a little bit, but
Mhm.
I mean I agree with what you're saying as a whole. I don't
Yeah.
think that he was like the next Joe Burrow. They was judging him off of one bowl game, and so I think he got a lot of unfair hype in the offseason about him. So that creates a lot of negative opinions about him. But
Yes, it certainly did, Barbara. Yes, it certainly did.
yeah, the game escaped from an asylum, 100%. Not to mention, what would the over under have been on how many replays were going to be in a single game or reviews? The
I'm
amount of
guarantee you
official
that
review.
everyone would have taken the under in this
Yeah,
particular
that
game.
was.
Would have failed miserably at that, because all I know is that when you turn on when you flip back to a game and they are probably about 10 minutes behind schedule in the play clock, like a game that
Yeah,
started at the same time has ended and there's 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter,
yeah,
there's some problems. And the
yeah.
announcers
That
are
was
like,
wild.
what's now? What's happening now that we're
Well,
reviewing?
I remember we had flipped it over to the Oregon game when they
Yep.
started reviewing a play, and we watched like 6 minutes of game time and then flipped it back, and they had just finished the review. I'm like, what are they looking at? I mean, what is taking that long? That was insane.
Yeah,
But
the reviews in this game were a bit out of control for sure.
yeah. But back to the actual game, Ole Miss, Jackson Dart, statistically wasn't awful. Ole Miss offensively wasn't, absolutely terrible stats wise. LSU just really got the better of them in the fourth quarter. Ole Miss couldn't get in the end zone, and when it mattered, LSU made the big play in overtime. So kudos to them.
I'd have to double check that. I'd have to double check this, but if that's true, I
And yeah,
would imagine I would imagine that's probably accurate. Death
yeah,
Valley is a tough place to play.
they have a outstanding home record at not under every coach that they've ever had.
Yep.
I mean, that is a tough place to play.
It is
But
a
yeah,
very tough place to play. Yeah.
kudos to Brian Kelly.
Yay, Mr. Kelly. Woo. Anyway,
But
he's trash.
The biggest game of the evening yesterday.
Yeah.
The Ducks with the quack attack coming at them Buckeyes. How about it?
Down go the Buckeyes. Praise Jesus. My good Lord.
That's a huge win for Dan Lanning. That is his first top 5 win after suffering 2 losses to Kalen DeBoer last season. Could not win the big game last year. He finally got him one, and it was a great one too. We was very involved in that one.
Yes, we were. Man, that was a very entertaining, well played game by both teams. I mean, those teams are by far 2 of the top teams in the country, hands down. They're ranked. They're ranked accordingly and accurately, for sure.
I have to give a lot of credit to Oregon's offensive line. I thought Ohio State would walk away with this one. I thought it would be a blowout. I just, they got, if you look at Ohio State defensive linemen in person, they are gigantic and they look, shredded. I just figured they was going to dog walk Oregon's offensive line. Gabriel wasn't going to have any time to throw. And I mean, Dylan Gabriel, he tore it up. I mean, he was dropping dimes, lasering into top window. He was
he was throwing some really pretty balls. Like it was actually really fun to watch a quarterback just picking apart Ohio State like that. It was quite nice. But yeah, honestly, my biggest surprise was, like you said, the defense of Oregon, like basically controlling. I wouldn't say shutting down, but definitely controlling to a certain degree both Henderson and Judkins, because that 2-headed monster is by far it's a nasty combo. And I thought they did a really good job of shutting down the freshman phenom in Jeremiah Smith, because that if you allow him, he can get on a roll, and just like Ryan Williams can and really take over a game. I mean, he's 6'3", 215 pounds, and he's a true freshman. The guy is a phenom, just like Ryan Williams is, just different type of game.
Yeah. And
So
I thought Will Howard had a solid outing too.
Yep. He played
the
well.
Stupidity there at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Being compared
that was
to
just
Dak
lack
Prescott.
of awareness. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there was a lot of not just on him in particular, but across college football, there was a lot of poor clock management all season. But yesterday, Lincoln Riley, we was questioning the way he handled the end of the game there. Probably could have put that away in the fourth quarter. Ole Miss, a little bit of questions on how they handled, some of the play calling there in the fourth quarter. Same thing with Ohio State. They kind of stood there. I don't remember how much time ticked off the clock because they thought the clock had stopped.
Yeah.
And it had not. And
I think it was almost 10 seconds had clicked off that clock before they realized what was going on. To answer Jacob, to answer your question, no, I actually don't think the stage was too big for Will Howard. I think it was simply he didn't get down in time, and then he looked up and realized what was going on. And it may have been something where he thought he had 10 instead of 6 or something like that.
Well, also to that, in reality, even if he had a slid that really didn't even put them in a good field goal position anyways.
Nope.
So sliding, I think either way, there's probably going to have to throw a Hail Mary. If he slid any earlier, that's still, you're looking at like a 57 to 60 yard field goal. I don't know if that would have mattered much anyways, but I'm glad he lost.
Yep. Me too. It was a good win from Oregon. Well-deserved. Well-played game overall.
Yep. Even got to see spitting on national television.
Oh, yeah. That was uncalled for. I was like, man, that was wow.
Now, I do need to throw this out real quick. Sorry, Barbara. This is a fun fact about Georgia. They have had more players arrested in a single season than any other college football program in history. And Kirby Smart got physical yesterday. So kudos to Kirby. I like to see a coach not afraid to fight.
Oh, but yeah, let's keep moving on. Let's dive into Iowa State and West Virginia. That game, we didn't get a chance to really watch too much of that one, but I mean, from what we saw, I thought it was a well-played game for the most part by Iowa State. I mean, they took control of that game about the second half. Yeah, second half. They kind of started pulling away from West Virginia.
Yeah, very balanced attack at Iowa State. West Virginia, they don't have a defense, and I don't know that they ever will. They never have. Yep. So they got to do something defensively in Morgantown.
Yeah, they're gonna have to do something. They're gonna have to change some stuff up there. And here we go. Here's the fun one. Folks. Kansas State at Colorado.
Yep.
I've never been so happy to be wrong about a pick.
Well, it's like I told you. I was worried about Kansas State defending the pass, and Shadur Sanders he got his numbers. I mean,
he got his numbers. I think even without Hunter, because I don't think Hunter came back into the game.
No, he did not. But he had, I think, like 4 incompletions. He was like 32 of 36 at some point in the fourth quarter. Sure. I mean, you got to give credit to that. That's insane. I mean, that is absolutely insane. But on the flip side, Kansas State, they could not stop that run. I mean, Kansas State's rushing attack is ridiculously good. Yep. And if that gets going, so kudos to them. It was a fun game to watch. The last 2 minutes of that game was insane. So shout out Kansas.
Yep, Kansas State did a phenomenal job for sure. All right, so last game on the docket, at least for our pick'ems are concerned, at least. Arizona at BYU, and Lord, we thought Arizona was gonna go, and then BYU took it to another gear and just mollywopped them.
Yep. I'm really liking BYU to win the conference, to be honest.
Oh, man. Man, they're going to win the conference for sure, I think, honestly.
They're very complete on both sides of the ball. I mean, they're something. So they're going to be exciting to see what happens the rest of the season with them.
Yes, Giddens had a very good game.
Yes, he did. And Casper, I agree. I seen they were mocking Colorado on their celebrations, and I love it. So that is it for the pick'ems. We have got some.
We got a couple questions in the chat. Let's quickly address them real quick. Right. First one, actually, we got two from Mr. Casper. And we'll go with this here. So, love to hear. He wants to hear the thoughts on Wisconsin versus Rutgers. Second week in a row, Wisconsin dominating and putting up 42 on Rutgers, who had the number 16 defense in the country. Honestly, Casper, if I'm being completely honest, I was surprised. I was surprised that was such a lopsided game. To be perfectly honest.
I was not surprised that Wisconsin won, but I was surprised at how many points Rutgers gave up because they've had a pretty solid defense this year. Wisconsin putting 42 up, that's a little unheard of.
Yeah. And also, I want to put this out. Also, on the shocker scale, Illinois allowing Purdue to put up 49 points on them.
I know. Illinois cost me money, son. Wisconsin, though, Casper, Wisconsin would have won me $100, but Illinois ruined that. So, the Illini, hate them. I got nothing.
And one more question from Mr. Casper. Do we think that FSU will win another game this season, not including the Charleston Southern game? You know, that is a tough question, and I'm going to have to relook at their schedule before I say one way or the other. But let's take a look at their schedule real quick.
So we have got.
Yeah, what do they got here? My phone's not working right.
We've got Duke, Miami, North Carolina, Notre Dame, Charleston Southern, and Florida. It is 100%.
So they will.
Possible.
They will. I will say FSU. It is possible for sure, but I feel like the odds are with FSU to win Duke and North Carolina just because they don't look very good at all.
They could go
outside
500.
of those two games, though. They could have some problems.
Jacob Rowe, no wins for FSU. He has checked it. The data is there. They are trash. I agree.
I'm not arguing with that fact, Jacob.
North Carolina is trash as well. And Duke, I'm not so sure about Duke at this point. They have not really played a tough opponent. The one they did play in Georgia Tech put them down.
That's right.
So I think Florida State probably goes 500 in the remainder of the season. Maybe a little better if things come together. So let me get out of that.
All right. So let's take a look, and we're gonna move on real quick to the gridlocks that we did, our gridlock picks for this week, and we're gonna talk about it. Brendan hit his with the 5.5 spread with Arizona State. Blake hit his with LSU, and then I hit the Oregon one. And also, quick shout out, Barbara killing it with the Vandy gridlock pick. Well done, Barbara.
With a 14-point dog.
14-point dog. Yep. Vandy pulling
Good
out
job,
the upset
Barbara.
Again.
All right. So now, that leads us to our player and team of the week.
That's right.
So we put a fan poll out, and you guys let us know. But Trevor, it's okay for us to disagree with the fans sometimes, but we will still let everybody know. I just want to ask this question. I'm going to read you these stats, and you tell me if you would make this player your player of the week.
Okay.
22 of 51 passing, 43%, 337 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks.
No.
The fan vote goes in favor of Nussmeier at LSU for Player of the Week. I know he won. I know he hit the game-winning pass.
Stop being a prisoner of the moment. Stop being a prisoner of the moment.
Yeah, you got to look at that game.
He did not play well.
Yeah, he did not play well. But hey, you voted, you get it. So the fan poll, Nussmeier, and they went with Kansas State for.
I don't necessarily hate the Kansas State. I get why they picked it, but again, looking at it, who they play and where they're at, I mean, it's literally to, forgive me for saying it to one of our friends, but they are middle tier in the Big Ten. They are not top tier teams. They are not going to contend for the championship. And we're talking about them being the best team that played on Sunday and had the best performance. I just disagree in its entirety, really. But I understand why they picked them, because Colorado, all the hype, all that stuff, and the fact that everybody's applauding them for just beating Colorado. Like, they're happy. They're happy about that.
But we here at Gridiron, we are going to go with Tyler Warren at Penn State. I mean, you've got to give it up to a tight end that goes out and gets over 200 yards.
Yep, 17 receptions, 224, and a touchdown. Good Lord.
That definitely has to be recognized. And then you got to go Oregon Ducks. You know, Ohio State, all the hype, coming in and getting your first top 5 win in a while.
Yep.
So kudos to Dan Lanning, and that is our fan vote and our player and team vote.
That is ours and the fans. Yep. Yeah, and I think that pretty much wraps it up, right, Blake? Unless we got some, did we miss anything? Did we miss anything?
Casper asked one more question. He's got what are the odds Army or Navy beats Notre Dame? I will say it depends on what Notre Dame. If it's the Northern Illinois Notre Dame, then any Saturday. I mean, Army has looked good. I know they haven't played, a top tier team, but they've looked good though. Better than I've seen them looking forever. Navy, same thing. I think Army looks better than Navy on the field, but
if they keep going this way, the Army Navy game at the end of the season is going to be insane.
And I got to do a public apology to Jacob Rowe, because I cost him some recruits on our dynasty. My bad. There you go.
All right. Well, I think that's gonna wrap it up for us, folks.
Yep.
Yeah, just drop a like, drop a share. We appreciate y'all following us and checking us out. And we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.
All right.